Passages 1 to 5. Passage 1. Verse of the Throne, 2:255. A. Theme. Theme of this long verse of Surah Al-Baqarah is Tawhid. It outlines Allah's inimitable attributes that distinguish Him from His creatures. The words, ever-living and self-subsisting, indicate Allah's supreme qualities that humans can never acquire. The verse affirms Allah's freedom from human weaknesses and needs such as tiredness or sleep. The word kursi or throne means His overlordship that encompasses the entire universe. He remains totally uninfluenced in establishing His writ over His created world. This signifies both His authority and knowledge about all His domain. It further emphasizes on Allah's decree and power that is unshared because none can dare to influence Him without His permission. The passage ends with the words Tu'ul Aliyu al-Azim that represent His ultimate supremacy and exaltedness. The Quran repetitively mentions Allah's supreme status, such as, "Surely your Lord is Allah, who established Himself on the throne governing all affairs of the universe." 10:3, Yunus. B. Importance of the theme. The passage strengthens the belief of the Muslims in Tawhid in terms of Allah's absolute uniqueness. Tawhid is the foundation of all Islamic teachings, and thus, the most effective antidote to shirk. They are reminded to worship and depend on Allah alone. Therefore, Muslims recite it regularly in order to refer all their matters to Allah. This frees them from seeking help from worldly powers. They also get rid of any fear of all evil forces, visible and invisible, including black magic and evil eye. By believing in Allah's absolute powers, Muslims tend to develop His fear and thus become more humble and submissive towards Him. Muslims usually recite this verse as an invocation while traveling and before going to bed. The Prophet declared it the greatest verse of the Quran and said, "Satan leaves the house where it is recited." Passage 2. Al-An'am 6:101-103. A. Theme. This passage refines the Muslim belief of Tawhid in terms of Allah's unique nature and powers. Muslims are convinced about worshipping one Allah by understanding the Quranic theme of these three verses is Allah's absolute uniqueness. They were revealed in late Makkan period to prepare the Muslims to counter the corrupted beliefs of the Christians and Jews living in Medina. Verse 101 begins with the word Badi that refers to Allah's unique power to create anything out of nothing. Verse 102 negates any false belief of Allah having a son or a consort because He Himself is not a creation. It further stresses on Allah being the sole creator and having control over all affairs. These unmatchable attributes convince the Muslims to worship none but Him. Verse 103 states Allah's absolutely sublime nature that keeps humans from conceptualizing Him in any way. Allah, on the other hand, has perfect knowledge of all His created world as He is Al-Raqib, ever vigilant. This is endorsed by another Quranic verse that says, "For Allah is He who understands the finest mysteries." 22 hours 63 minutes, Al-Hajj. B. Importance of the theme. This passage refines the Muslim belief of Tawhid in terms of Allah's unique nature and powers. Muslims are convinced about worshipping one Allah by understanding the Quranic wisdom behind this. It enables them to keep their belief of Tawhid free from all impurities. Hence, it removes any shade of confusion about Allah's existence as the most unique entity. Moreover, they develop a sense of Allah's omniscience that helps them to live a righteous living. At another place the Quran reminds the same as, "And He is with you wheresoever you are." 57-4, Al-Hadid, it, therefore, teaches them about their limitations regarding Allah's personification and configuration. Thus they refrain from committing any form of shirk. According to the Mufassirin to commentators of Quran, when this surah was being revealed 70,000 angels were assigned to accompany it. Therefore, its recitation has a strong enlightening impact on the hearts of Muslims as they remain away from satanic misguidance. Passage 3. Surah Fussilat, 41:37. A. Theme. B. Importance of the theme. This verse is from Surah Fussilat Mim, Al-Sajda, an early B. Importance of the theme. This verse is from Surah Fussilat Mim, Al-Sajda, an early Makkan surah, revealed to the Prophet when he was sitting by the Kaaba. Utbah bin Rabi'ah, a spokesman of the Makkans, tried to bribe him, including an offer to get the Prophet rid of the jinns. The Prophet then recited this surah to all pagans there. It teaches Muslims to identify Allah through the perspective of the heavenly bodies and the cyclic pattern of day and night, instead of worshipping His creatures. Their shine only reflects their Creator, who in fact is a light of the heavens and the earth. They are under His control and therefore are not worthy of worship. Several previous communities worshipped these lifeless objects. Therefore, the Quran mentions them as Allah's signs frequently. Surely, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and in the alternation of the night and the day, there are signs for the people of understanding. 3:190, Al-Imran. B. Importance of the theme. This verse encourages Muslims to observe various objects of nature that reflect Allah's existence, majesty and glory. Such observation helps Muslims to develop a strong belief in Allah's marvels and powers, and therefore, trains them to reject all forms of shirk. For this reason, the Quran adopts a challenging tone while mentioning the immaculate universe of Allah. It says, "You will never see any imperfection in the creation of the Most Compassionate." 67:3, Al-Mulk, it tells them that there must be a supreme power to control and sustain such a wonderful and complex universe. This trains them to think logically and makes them more humble before Allah. Moreover, they realize the limitations of their mind and vision about seeing Allah directly in this world, thus reinforcing their belief in the unseen. They are reminded of the weakness of humans to start adoring anything that appeals or intimidates them. Passage 4. Surah Al-Shura, 42:4-5. A. Theme. The two verses are from Surah Al-Shura, revealed in Makkah shortly after Surah Fussilat. The Makkans considered the Quran as poetry crafted by the Prophet. The two verses were revealed in response to such doubts of the Makkans about the Quran. Verse 4 continues the message of the preceding verse that states the Prophet received revelations just like the previous messengers. They teach that there is nothing strange or new about Allah's revelations, as they had been sent all through the ages. Verse 5 describes Allah's majesty glorified by countless angels, an impact of Allah's presence on the heavens that hardly sustain His burden. The Quran describes the power of Allah's word as, "Had we sent down this Quran on a mountain, you would have surely seen it humbled and torn into pieces with the fear of Allah." 59:21, Al-Hashr. Finally, the verse mentions the additional activity of angels who are busy in seeking forgiveness for the misguided humans on the earth. B. Importance of the theme. These verses make Muslims understand the similarity between the Quran and the previous revelations. Thus Muslims are trained to respect other religions as the source of all revelation is one Allah. They help Muslims to follow the path of Tawhid and stay away from shirk. Muslims reassure themselves of Allah's power and glory, and this makes them His obedient and humble servants. This also induces a genuine fear of Allah in their hearts. Humans, because of their free will, can be influenced by Satan to commit sins. However, they are reminded of Allah's mercy and forgiveness. This is frequently promised in the Quran, O my slaves who have transgressed against themselves. Despair not of the mercy of Allah, verily Allah forgives all sins. 39:53. Al-Zumar, belief in Allah's mercy and forgiveness prepares Muslims to repent over their misdeeds and retain the hope of being pardoned by Allah. Passage 5. Al-Ikhlas, 112. A. Theme. According to the major reporters, it is an early Makkan surah, while some others declare it to be a Medinian surah. It was revealed in an answer to several queries of pagans and the Jews about Allah. The Jews wanted to compare the Quranic concept of Allah with that given in the Torah. Similarly, pagans asked about the ancestry of Allah. The Prophet awaited the divine guidance and this surah was revealed. The surah sums up the absolute oneness of Allah by referring to his uniqueness in person, Tawhid fil Zat. Allah's name Al-Ahad summarizes his absolute oneness. His perfection and his sublime nature are expressed in the word Al-Samad that also implies his freedom from time and space, as well as any progeny. The surah categorically rejects the false belief of Allah having ancestors or descendants. The last verse of the surah declares the impossibility of comparing Allah with any of his creations. B. Importance of the theme. Surah Al-Ikhlas is so called because it purifies the most fundamental Islamic belief of Tawhid. By reciting it, Muslims are taught to negate all false concepts about Allah. They guard their belief by remembering that Allah cannot be confined to time and space. This belief reassures them about the impossibilities of Allah being the descendant or ascendant of anyone. This makes them distinct from the many misguided communities and those associating partners with Allah. Thus, it strengthens the belief of Muslims in Tawhid and keeps them from committing any form of shirk, especially shirk fil Zat. For the same reason, the Prophet encouraged Muslims to recite this surah regularly. Due to its conciseness, the Prophet declared, "By him in whose hand my life is, it is equal to 1/3 of the Quran." Therefore, Muslims recite this surah along with the other 3 surahs that begin with the word Qul say in order to earn special reward from Allah. Compound questions on Theme 1, P1Q2. B. How might these teachings affect a Muslim's life today? 4. Using passages you have studied, write about the main teachings about Allah in the Quran. 10. B. How might these teachings affect a Muslim's life today? 4. ANSA. The set passages are 2:255, 6:101-103, 41:37, 42:4-5 and 112. They describe various aspects of the belief in Tawhid, foundational pillar of Islam. Ayatul Kursi or verse of the throne, 2:255, describes power, authority, knowledge and unique attributes of Allah that make him distinct from his creatures. This verse outlines his exceptional knowledge, power, majesty and authority. The essence of the verse is described as his throne encompassing the entire universe. This means it is Allah who exercises unshared authority over entire universe. Therefore, he alone has knowledge of all and he alone is sustainer of all. The same message is conveyed by another verse. Say, who is it that provides you with sustenance, and who is it that governs all that exists? And they will answer, it is Allah. 10:31, Yunus. The passage 6:101-103, Al-Anam, begins with Allah's unique name of Badi that refers to his power to create anything out of absolute nothingness by just a single command. It declares that Allah alone created the entire universe without the assistance of any other. Many Quranic verses state this divine power by mentioning Allah's command and its immediate result as kun be and fayakun, it so happens. The passage proceeds to reject all kinds of polytheistic beliefs including Trinity by the impossibility for Allah to have any consort or children. This powerful argument is followed by a command to all to worship him only. The passage ends by referring to Allah's knowledge and sublime nature that keep humans from bringing him to the limited domain of their imaginations. The passage 41:37, Fussilat, states Allah's supreme powers by drawing human attention towards the brighter signs of divinity and cyclic pattern of universe. It mentions the sun and the moon, whose appearance is linked with the alternation of day and night, and thus they reflect the glory of the most magnificent Allah. It commands the readers to identify the most magnificent Creator, one Allah, and worship Him alone, as humans are born with a vulnerability to adore whatever appears impressively magnanimous to them. The passage 42:4-5, Al-Shura, discusses Allah's glory and His ownership of the entire universe and its acknowledgement by the angels who keep praising Him without a break. It refers to the impact of Allah's presence on the lower heavens where angels are constantly glorifying Him. They feel the heaven above them might fall apart due to the presence of all-powerful Allah. This may also refer to the effect of divine revelations coming from Allah through the highest heaven. Allah's word, like His person, may shake the mightiest objects like the Mount Tur that could not sustain a small fraction of divine light. The passage finally gives hope to humans of Allah's mercy and forgiveness as it tells that angels also seek Allah's mercy for humans. They know human vulnerability before Satan, and they also are aware of Allah's immense love for His creatures. Surah Al-Ikhlas 112 sums up the fundamental message of Tawheed by answering the queries of idolaters and non-Muslims about the nature of Allah. It silences all questioners by using the words Ahad, the one and only, and Al-Samad, the eternal, absolute for Allah's oneness and uniqueness. It reinforces its message by striking at the roots of shirk and all corrupted beliefs and about Allah having or belonging to a progeny the way humans have. Like 6:101-103, it categorically rejects all such corrupted beliefs crafted by the misguided communities about Allah. The message of the surah is sealed by a declaration that Allah is incomparable to any of His creatures as He is everywhere but He is too sublime to be viewed, hinting towards the limitations of human intellect. Thus the title of the surah is fully justified as it removes all impurities in Tawheed and presents it in the purest and original form. B. Quranic teachings have a strong effect on a Muslim's life and conduct. Muslims develop a clear concept of Tawhid and do not commit shirk, associating partners with Allah, by realizing that Allah alone is their helper in all circumstances. They are not intimidated by worldly powers however mighty they might be. This is because Quran tells them that the entire universe is under the supreme command of one Allah. Muslims also develop a strong sense of Allah's presence as is stated in the Quran, He is with you wherever you are, 57:4, Al-Hayd. This belief keeps Muslims from disobeying Allah even in their privacies. However, they also retain hope of Allah's mercy and forgiveness if they become victims of Satan. They know the angels are seeking forgiveness for them from Allah. A. Choose two from the following passages and write in detail about the various ways in which Allah describes in these how He is unique. 6:101-103, 42:4-5, 112, 41:37. 10. B. In your opinion, why Muslims should try to understand Allah's attributes? Give reasons for your answer. 4. ANSA. Here all the four passages have been discussed, students may choose any TWO. 6:101-103, Al-An'am. This passage begins with the word Badi, that refers to Allah's power to create the universe without any pre-existing ingredients or inputs. This is something that humans can never acquire because they always make or create something new only with the help of some raw material or inputs. Allah, on the other hand, only commands, and things come into existence. The Quran frequently mentions this attribute of Allah. He is the one who has originated the heavens and the earth, and when He wills to originate a thing, He only says be and it becomes to originates. 2:117, Al-Baqarah. The passage proceeds to describe Allah's knowledge of all things. This means He knows all about the past, present and future of all His creatures because all phenomena of universe are solely under His control. The verse of the throne endorses this, and His throne extends over the heavens and the earth. 2:255, Al-Baqarah, such a supreme Allah, therefore, can neither have any consort or children nor can He have any assistant or partners in exercising His authority. He is the most supreme authority to dispose of all matters as everything has been predestined by Him. These vital realities make Him worthy of all kinds of worship as He is the most unique entity in all aspects that humans can imagine. Though all his created world is under his observation all the times, human eye cannot afford to see him because he is too sublime and too refined to be brought to the limited domain of its imagination. 41:37, Fusilat. This single verse sums up Allah's uniqueness in terms of his reflection through his glorious objects in the heavens. The shine of the sun and the moon testify to Allah's control over them as they, along with the night and the day, undergo fixed variations. Their cyclic variation proves they are under the ultimate power of Allah, who himself remains invisible. If we observe the universe closely, we can identify Allah indirectly through the immaculate order and systematic pattern of all heavenly bodies, galaxies, and even space. There are several verses in the Quran for those having an insight for understanding Allah's unique existence. At one place, the Quran says, "And in your own creation and in that of all the creatures which he scatters in the earth are signs for a people who possess firm faith." 45:5, Al-Jatiyah. The misguided minds have a potential weakness to start worshipping these celestial bodies as they get impressed by the awe and glow of these creatures of Allah. Therefore, the verse warns humans not to worship the creatures and instead bow down before the one and only creator of all. Allah's control over this universe, whose boundaries cannot be measured by humans, is a concrete evidence of Allah. So, it is the duty of humans to acknowledge Allah's supremacy and uniqueness by believing in Tawhid. Allah best knows that humans in this world cannot afford to physically see him. He, for this reason, draws their attention by referring to the presence of his signs. Indeed, Allah has created these objects for the service of humankind, but humans often start adoring them. Thus the passage discusses Allah's unique nature in terms of recognizing him through the signs of his power. Answer 4a part ends here, but students may opt the other TWO passages given below. 42:4-5, Al-Shura. These two verses illustrate Allah's uniqueness with reference to his majesty, might and glory that is palpable in the seven heavens. The passage mentions Allah's unshared ownership of the universe and his exalted status. A similar description is given in the verse of the throne, his are all things in the heavens and on earth. 2:255, Al-Baqarah. The passage highlights Allah's power and majesty by mentioning the angels who are always busy in glorifying him. While praising Allah, they feel the heaven above them might fall apart. This feeling may also refer to the impact of coming of revelations through the heavens. Similar power of the Quran is mentioned in another surah as, "Had we sent down this Quran on a mountain, you, O Muhammad, would have certainly seen it humbled and torn apart in awe of Allah." 59:21. Al-Hashr. Similarly, when Hazrat Musa had asked Allah for showing himself to him, a very minute fraction of Allah's glory burned down a part of Mount Tur. Thus the passage is aimed at inducing fear of Allah, who is in possession of utmost powers. He has assigned angels the task of praising him in order to teach humans to do the same. The other dimension of the passage is Allah's attributes of unusual mercy and kindness. The angels, while glorifying Allah, keep begging mercy and forgiveness for the humankind. This proves Allah's goodness and greatness, and affection for his servants. The Quran is replete with the mentioning of Allah's unique degree of mercy for humans. Your Lord has inscribed for himself the rule of mercy. 6:54. Al-An'am. Allah's reassurance of mercy keeps the hope of his compassion alive in the hearts of his servants if they commit any sins. Surah 112, Al-Ikhlas, is one of the most important surahs of the Quran. It sums up the fundamental aspects of absolute oneness of Allah and his unique nature. The surah is so titled, Al-Ikhlas, as it purifies the belief of Tawhid, the foundational pillar of Islam. It describes how Allah is unique and distinct from his creations. He is not bounded by the limitations of time and space, and this is another significant aspect of Tawhid. This is reiterated at many places in the Quran. He is the first and the last. 57:3, Al-Hayd. This means Allah has always been in existence and is immortal. Everything that he created has a fixed span of life, but he, the creator of all, is eternal. He is stated as free from any ancestors or descendants, unlike humans. This negates all false beliefs about Allah having any son or consort, as is believed by some communities. All these extraordinary attributes of Allah justify him to be so sublime that humans cannot visualize Allah as an entity. The Quran highlights this human limitation as, no vision can grasp him, but his grasp is over all vision. 6:103 Al-An'am. Since this surah presents the doctrine of Tawhid in the most concise way, it has been declared by the Prophet equivalent to 1/3 of the Quran. Its recitation, therefore, keeps Muslims reminding about uniqueness and oneness of Allah. B. Muslims need to know the attributes of Allah as it strengthens their bond with Him. They need to remember that Allah alone is worthy of worship, and so it is essential for them to know Allah as Ilah and Lord of the worlds. Therefore, Allah instructs in the Quran, so remember me, I shall remember you. 2:252 Al-Baqarah. They need His mercy because they know they are vulnerable before Satan. So, they constantly seek His refuge against Satan by reciting the Quran. Even then, if they commit any sin, they have the hope of Allah's mercy and forgiveness. By knowing His attribute of justice, they develop a sense of accountability before Him. Such feelings become a barrier against any acts of disobedience of Allah. They believe that He is the ultimate source of their provisions and means of sustenance, and this keeps them from committing shirk, the greatest of all sins. Theme 2. Allah's relation with His created world, human.